Twins, they dropped game 2 of the border battle to the Brew Crew, 9-0. So let's see, that puts the total at 26-7. They've been outscored in just the past 24 hours. Full deep dive coming up next. Minnesota Twins postcast.
This is the Twins postcast, your instant game reaction for the Minnesota Twins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on back in the lab? Back at another Minnesota Twins postcast episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network, your team every day. Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. Main man with me, Sweet Lou Hennesey. Give him a follow on X at Sweet Lou MN, Twins expert over at Zone Coverage MN. Sweet Lou, let's start here. Your team has now lost 8 of 9. I know the issues, right? I watch all the games. Starting pitching's declined drastically, with no Pablo, got the young arms out there trying to figure it out. But when you can't score, more than 2-3 runs a night on average, right? I know they scored 0 today. They scored 7 last night. A lot of them came in garbage time. But you're just not going to, win a lot of games either that way. So give me a specific player or two. We've talked about kind of the position groups or the areas of which they've struggled, but give me a specific player or two that we can just kind of pick on here just for a second. You tell me which guys have kind of really weighed down the lineup and not lived up maybe to their expectations just the past few weeks.
Boy, it's probably easier to start talking about the guys that are kind of fulfilling their promise at this point. But if you're looking for some kind of dead weight that's on the team right now, they're not getting very much from someone like Jonah Bride, who doesn't get a lot of opportunities on the offensive side of the ball too much. He's pitched more than he's hit, it seems like, in the last couple of weeks here. I think he's pitched 4 times in the last 2 weeks. They're coming in having a position player throw 2 times a week over the last couple times through the rotation here, and that's not something that's going to carry you to contention, let's just say. So today was mostly top to bottom, just if we're talking about the X's and O's of the games, or if we're even just talking about the body language. There was very few things to like about the Twins game today.
It's funny. Me and CJ on last night's show, we joked over under 8.5 pitching appearances by Bride by the time this season's already in the books, because CJ brought up a great point. This dude came in like May, right? Early May. So, in 6 weeks, he's already got 4 appearances. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's definitely not how you draw it up. I see the value in saving your bullpen, especially a bullpen that was, worked so hard when things were going right. And now we're starting to see it kind of unravel a little bit. At the same time, what are you giving your fans at that point when it's
tough?
It's essentially a forfeit when you do that.
Waving the white flag, waving that white flag, not what the fans, I should say, want to see, especially when they pay good money to bring the kids all the way out there. Lots to get into. What went wrong today, the biggest turning points, plus, little bright spot this season we've all kind of been waiting for with Byron Buxton. He's still red hot. But first, quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by Game Time. Game Time, download that Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Quick little recap if you missed it. Twins Brew Crew border battle game 2, trying to shake off again that 17-7 beat down from last night. You got Simeon Woods Richardson on the mound. He got tested early in this one. 2 runs allowed in both the first and second inning. That kind of put the Twins in a big hole right out the gate. And then the Brewers add on 5 more in the 8th and 9th, but it just really didn't matter because the Twins lineup, as we've mentioned, just kind of non-existent once again. Only 4 hits on the day, never got anything cooking. 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position, 6 runners left on base. So again, 9-0. That's your final. 37-39 now on the year. Officially a below 500 ball club again. Biggest takeaways, 8 topics, I guess, just in general, what stuck out the most today?
I will give Sim his props because he turned that starter around considerably. I think he was at like 50 pitches after the first couple innings there. Like you said, he gave up a pair of runs in each of those first 2 innings. Not earned runs. It was some pretty sloppy defense, both in terms of Ryan Jeffers' error that allowed both the run to score and the runner to make it all the way to third at that point. And another thing that doesn't show up in the scorecard necessarily was the fielder's choice of Jonah Bride trying to get the double play at second, not getting either out. So that doesn't look like an error necessarily on the box score, but it is a mistake in the game that led to multiple runs. So, that's like I said, I'll give Sim his credit. He's somebody who's going to need to step up over the next few weeks here because they're going to need him to. So whatever he can learn from today's outing is going to be good. But once we start talking about the offense, just there's not even sparks here when you're talking besides Byron Buxton. Willie Castro's had a pretty good month. I'll give him that. Guys like Ryan Jeffers, even Carlos Correa showing a little bits and pieces here. But today, uncompetitive at bats, uncompetitive on the base paths, and uncompetitive on the field. So it is a shame.
Brooks Lee, 19? I want to say 19-game hit streak officially snapped, right? Great run. Love to see it, obviously. Yep. How good's this guy gotten from last year to now? Such a young pup when you think about the big picture. What's his ceiling, I guess, when you look at him as a player in the MLB with another season or two under his belt?
Yeah, look, it's going to be hard to talk about his ceiling at this point, but he's always been somebody who's going to raise the floor of the team just with how good his defense is, how many different holes he can fill. When he's hitting, that's going to be great because he can hit from both sides of the plate. The hit streak that just ended today, really encouraging. I'll take it. Absolutely. What's really odd is just when you look at an at-bat per at-bat basis, he's still putting in below average clip as a hitter. Yeah. With that hit streak, but you know what? We'll take 18, 1 for 4 games instead of some offers. So hopefully he can start a new one tomorrow and keep it going from there.
Yeah, doesn't ever feel like he's going to be, a superstar, an Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt, right? But a glue guy, right? Yeah. Like the Willie Castros of the team, the glue guys in the gauntlet, summer dog days of the season that you just absolutely love to have around for sure. Plenty more deep dive. Byron Buxton's just red hot, I should say, start to the season. That's all coming up, though, right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and official sportsbook partner of the MLB. Right now, FanDuel is giving you a chance at a huge return, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you win your first $5 wager. Why I love FanDuel? When you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you go check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play, all on the same page where you place your bets. Again, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you hit your first $5 wager. Go check it all out over at FanDuel.com. Getting some MLB future action if you dare. Twins plus 550 right now to win the AL Central. It's all sitting up over at FanDuel.com. Again, check it all out over at FanDuel.com and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you win your first $5 wager. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and official sportsbook partner of the MLB. I talked about this with CJ just a little bit last night. ESPN's latest power rankings are out. Last week, believe it or not, Twins ranked 11th on the list. Feels like an eternity ago. 7 days later, they've dropped all the way down to 18. So 11 to 18. Each team, though, didn't talk about this last night. Each team gets a quick, 3-4 sentence blurb, right? Basically, they just spent the entire time gushing about Byron Buxton and the season he's having, right? Put it into words best you can. What we're watching from him after so many, seasons cut short and kind of marred by injury.
He just looks like a new man out there, and I think that's due in large part to the good luck and health that he has. I'm knocking on wood furiously while I say that. He's been relatively healthy this year. His at-bats have just been so much cleaner, it feels like to me. Swing and miss has always been kind of part of his game. You see that as part of the pitcher's game plan of doing a lot of breaking stuff outside. He started to be able to lay off some of those and even do some damage when the pitcher makes a mistake. So he's been a completely new man. He's been their best player by far, and he's been probably the best center fielder in baseball. I think he's certainly in that conversation, and I'm really hoping that he makes an appearance in the All-Star game in his home state of Georgia.
Nerdy stat of the day, any crazy stat or, fun analytic, I guess you can find Twins related?
Yeah, coming into today's game, and let's talk about Byron Buxton, who, like I said, has kind of really evolved his game, especially at the plate. With 2 strikes, he, over the last couple of weeks, when a pitcher has 2 strikes on him, Byron Buxton is slugging .933. League average is 300. He's slugging more than 3 times that. The next closest is more than 100 points below him in those 2 weeks. So he has been scorching, red hot, even with 2 strikes, something which was a huge bugaboo for him over the first few years of his career. He's establishing himself, like I said, as one of the best hitters in the league and one of the best center fielders in the game.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, granted, sure, Twins have struggled a lot the past couple of weeks, but man, still fun to watch Byron Buxton, the buck truck out there doing work. Don't go anywhere. Preview Game 3, David Fest on the mound tomorrow. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode also brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 10 million members to date. And for me, my money is just by far the easiest. It's the most exciting way to get in on all the action while you watch your favorite sports and you watch your favorite players. So simple, too. All you got to do, you pick more or less on 2 or more player stats. You watch the winnings roll in, strikeouts, home runs, RBI, stolen bases, you name it, they got it. Take your pick on more or less. Add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Download the Prize Picks app. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 instantly with any $5 wager. All right, Game 3, border battle tomorrow, 1:10, first pitch, David Festa back on the mound. Simplify it for me. Number one thing, maybe it's a player, whatever it may be, you're thinking about or looking at for the Twins to get kind of back on track this week.
God, there's so many guys that need to lock in tomorrow. That's the key here. There's so many uncompetitive at bats where guys were flailing at junk in the dirt. They were rolling over so easily. It's going to take a team-wide approach change that's going to make a difference here, because the Brewers are a very strong team. They're one of the best teams in the National League, and we're kind of seeing why. They're so fundamentally sound. They take those extra bases like no other team in baseball, and they're really opportunistic in what they're able to accomplish there. So as far as David Festa goes, he was so close to having a very encouraging start last time. I think he started the game when I did the postcast with Sam last week, and he was one strike away from getting out of that fourth inning with zero damage. And unfortunately, things just unraveled from there a little bit. But, he's a young pitcher. These are his opportunities to kind of learn and develop how to get through those type of situations and where to go with a put out offering in his repertoire. So hopefully he can continue to grow, because like Simeon Woods Richardson, Festa is somebody who they're going to rely on, especially over these next couple of weeks.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Again, last night officially below 500 again for, the first time in weeks, probably since that 13-game win streak. Who are we? Like, what's the identity of the team? I asked CJ this, it's kind of a tough question to answer, I get, but the Twins still have a high ceiling. Is it a low floor at this point? Certainly feels like. Again, trying not to be a prisoner of the moment, though. You lose 8 of 9, but who knows? Maybe this team can go rattle off 8 or 9 again. 113. So, are we still trying to figure it out, though? Maybe that's a better question. Are we still trying to figure out who this team is and where they're headed this year in 2025, or do you feel like you've got a pretty good idea at this point, knowing everything you know?
No, I think we're still kind of figuring it out here. It's so interesting because for years, up until the middle of last season, the Twins were one of those teams that were always just kind of hovering in the middle. You know what I mean? They were, they were either just above average or just below average, but pretty even keel, coming into every day with the same approach. And since August of last year, they've either been one of the best teams in baseball or one of the worst teams you've ever seen in your entire life. So I think the real answer is going to be somewhere in the middle for sure. But they really got to start looking like it if things are going to change, because if they keep bottoming out, that's not the sign of a well-constructed organization. And that's when changes start being made. So I think they're still figuring it out for sure, but there's some core pieces that need to really step up here.
What else is going on around the leagues? Last 60 seconds here, then we'll get out of here. Tigers still surprising you a little bit. By the way, Tigers #1 in that ESPN power rankings. Dodgers too. Almost 3 months in the season here. Pretty big sample size. Still a long way to go, granted, but what's just surprised you the most lately, maybe for good or bad? A specific team, a specific player? Give me anything.
We haven't seen it from the Twins quite yet this year, but I think this week I've seen around the league like 4 different benches clearing. I'm not going to call them brawls because no hits or no swings are even made at all, but tensions are high right now. I think it's at that point of the season when teams, like you said, are trying to figure out where they're at. And there's some pretty pretty big rivalries going on. But oh my gosh, I've seen fisticuffs 4 different times over the last 3 days, it seems like. So
you got one favorite brawl from when you were a kid? Mine, Pedro Martinez, Red Sox, Yankees, that third base coach, forget his name now.
Yeah.
Just threw him to the ground like twice his age, kind of thing. Just a classic.
Don Zimmer.
Or Albert. Yeah, what's his name?
Don Zimmer. Yeah, no, that
shout out Don Zimmer if you're listening to the show. Big fan of the show. Don Zimmer, Donnie, love you. And then Albert Bell. It wasn't a benching clear and brawl, but Albert Bell, man, but back in the Juice days, man, he had a temper. Yep. He got hit by a pitch when he was playing for Baltimore, and he told the ump, he goes, "I'm not walking to first base. I'm not leaving, dude. Pitch again. You're pitching to me. You're not walking me, dude." Eventually, the ump was like, "That's not how this works. You got to go. You got to walk to first." But just incredible. Those two always stick out. You got one favorite one that's just kind of comical that always sticks out?
No, I mean, we got to bring up Jose Bautista and Rougned Odor with the actual hit that I think the biggest hit that's ever been connected. So, that one's big. You don't see them like they used to just because the penalties are so high for when fists actually do come to blows there. And honestly, I chuckle every time the bench is clear and there's just posturing. Nothing happens. It happens almost every time now. But
hockey players are just looking at these guys are pathetic.
Yeah, exactly.
Throw a punch.
Exactly.
Well, back in the day too, there wasn't 58 high def 4K cameras around too to check everything in slow motion. You could get away with a little bit more in those big scrums, but I digress. Twins drop game 2. They've lost 8 of their last 9 now. 9-0. That's your final in game 2 today. 37-39. That's your record. Huge shout out though to all you guys, all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. All you guys coming in the chat with us from game to game. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. Check out all Sweet Lou's work on X at Sweet Lou MN, plus all the work he's always putting up over at ZoneCoverageMN.com as well. Luke Inman on X at Luke_Spinman. You got game 3 tomorrow, 1:10 first pitch again. David Festa on the mound. Catch you right here. Same time, same place. Until then, signing out.